you're good to go? Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm going to call this regular meeting Tuesday, September 7th, 2021 at a little after 10 a.m. I'm going to call it to order. Mr. Minlove, you're going to be doing our invocation today, so would you also lead us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, who art in heaven, we are grateful that we can come before Thee this day. We humbly bow our heads unto Thee. We are grateful for the blessings that have been bestowed upon us. We have prayed and asked for rain and moisture, and Thou hast sent it in abundance. We're grateful that even though there has been flooding from that we did have the moisture and that there has been no loss of life. For that, pray that we might work together to strive to help those that have suffered and have lost homes and other things that are required for necessities of life. We're grateful for the opportunity that we have to serve in the capacity as county employees, that we can serve the people of this county. People are in need of different things, and we pray that we may be mindful, may be observant in being able to seek out and search those of greatest need, that we may be able to find a way to help those that are most in need. Grateful for the opportunity we have to meet as a Board of Supervisors this morning. We pray Thy Spirit to be with us, bless us, and help us to make wise choices that are in accordance with Thy will and that will bring Thy blessings to Gila County. We do ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Minlove. Okay, we're going to get on with this presentation. 2A, public recognition of 6 employees through the Gila County Spotlight of Employees program as follows: Robert Matthews, Josh Gonzalez, Reyes Barajas, Dart Derelick, Deborah Broadway, and Kenneth Jones, and will be presented by Erica. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, thank you for the opportunity. As mentioned, we did have 6 employees nominated for this month's Spotlight on Employees. Both of them are actually, we have 2 group nominations. So first and foremost, we'll look at the first 3, which was Robert Matthews, Joseph Gonzalez, and Reyes Barajas. Their nomination read: we moved 4 offices in the Board of Supervisors department, including furniture, files, and miscellaneous boxes. The crew never complained, even when we changed our minds, and they had a do-over. Along with the moving duties, they also had to complete some carpentry work that included drywall, moving a door to create a new hallway, running new electrical and computer lines. They always left things in good order at the end of the day, and they were extremely polite and entertaining, and we hated to see them go. This was a letter submitted by Sherry Grice and Kathy Melvin. Robert Matthews is with Facilities. He's been with us for 2 years and recently moved on, but we did want to go ahead and nominate him and recognize his contributions. Joseph Gonzalez is with Facilities and has been with us for a year. Joseph? And if you'd like to say anything.
Thank you, guys.
Reyes is, of course, also with Facilities and has been with us 7.5 years. Reyes?
Thank you.
Our next nomination read, so I wanted to take the time to give a couple of your staff members a compliment on their service. It's always nice and a huge reminder of what great people we have in our county. Dard was very helpful in giving the information I needed in a way that was easy to follow, and I was able to take care of a task for my community with ease. It started with Debbie Bradway with Community Development, such a nice person, helpful and knowledgeable. She printed out all the information I needed to give to Flood Zone. Ken Jones was also a huge help with my project, and they were all a great reflection of the county services. I just wanted to give them all a shout out. And this was a letter submitted by the public. And they're actually all up in Payson today. Dard is with Public Works. He's been with the county almost 22 years. Dard, would you like to say anything?
No, thank you for the recognition.
Debbie Bradway, she is with Community Development. She's been with the county 16 and a half years. Debbie, did you want to say anything?
She isn't here.
Okay, and Kenneth Jones is also with Public Works and has been with the county 5.5 years. And Ken, would you like to say anything?
Well, it's been a pleasure so far to be here, and thanks for the recognition. We appreciate it.
Great, thank you. And that does complete our spotlight. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen, would you care to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a comment. I think that we have a marvelous group of employees here at the county, and I appreciate everyone. I know we're specifically honoring a few today, but I feel very honored to work with and for all of our employees.
You're good. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The same goes with me. Congratulate everybody, but I really want to congratulate the facilities department, because we've really stacked it on you guys in the last year or so, and you guys have done an outstanding job. So it's really good to have you aboard and be a part of the county. So thank you.
I just want to say thanks, everybody, and we really appreciate you stepping up to do the things that you do. So we appreciate it very much. Okay, and with that, we're going to move on to 2B. Presentation of a check in the amount of $6,000 to the Payson Lodge number 2154, Benevolent of Protective Order of Elks, a private nonprofit organization. Supervisor Klein.
Yeah, so this, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this check is on behalf of us county supervisors, and I think you gentlemen are here to get it. Is that correct? Oh, back there. You guys are. So I really want to say it's a pleasure to give this to you, and all three of us, we can get up here and do a photo with you if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to say thank you very, very much.
You might have to get in the mic.
I'm not used to the microphone. I want to say thank you so much. We do have 3 really big events coming up this year before the year's over for our veterans and our children and for our Payson community. So this is really going to be nice to help us out with it. Thank you so much.
We appreciate all the Elks does for the community. Even though they're a private club, they do a lot for a lot of people. Okay, that brings us to item 3, public hearing. Information discussion action to adopt resolution number 21-09-01, acknowledging the transfer of ownership of Arroyo Water Company Incorporated to Michael Armstead, repealing resolution number 07-02-01 and granting a 25-year water service franchise to Arroyo Water Company Incorporated, contingent upon receipt of a certificate of insurance within 30 days after adoption of resolution number 2021-09-01. Marion Shepherd.
Thank you, Chairman Humphrey and board members. First, I'll give you a little bit of history, how these applications came to the board today. Earlier this year, I received a call from a Public Works employee wanting contact information on a water service franchise for the Pine Strawberry area. I pulled the paperwork I had on file, and it says that that Robert Hardcastle of Brook Utilities has a franchise with the county for Pine Water Company, Strawberry Water Company, Payson Water Company, and Tano Basin Water Company. And the franchise is good through August 2024. So I made some phone calls and learned that Mr. Hardcastle actually sold these companies years ago. However, he did not notify the county. I then went online to the Arizona Corporation Commission, and I found lists of all utility companies operating in the state. And my plan was to notify all utility companies operating in Gila County to get their current information, make sure they still are the owner of the franchise, and if not, correct that. So as I stated, I learned that Mr. Hardcastle sold. So the first person I contacted on my list was Michael Armstead. And I learned that he not only purchased the water company for Tano Basin, he did for two other companies, and one I also had on file with a different owner, and it's a current franchise. So I worked with Mr. Armstead for a very long time, trying to find the easiest way to get this done, because just to give you a little background, when Mr. Armstead purchased these companies from the previous owners, he went through a very lengthy process with the Arizona Corporation Commission. So he got all their approvals, and he is really under the oversight of the Corporation Commission, and he went and he's in good standing. So at that point, I talked to Jackie Sanders, our deputy county manager, and I think I talked to Mr. Menlove, our county manager, some. And we were thinking we could just find a more expeditious process to get this done, because at this point, it's really administrative. It's not a matter of he wants to, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't banging it for you.
It's not a matter of, he wants to buy it. He already owns it. He's been operating it, these companies. So I talked to Jeff Dalton, our county attorney, and he said we must go through the current process we have in place, which is a resolution the board adopted several years ago. So that is the reason we're going to have the public hearings. I do have Mr. Armstead here today, and we can just, if you want, start with the very first one, which is Arroyo Water Company. And this is it was previously owned by Casey Parker, and he does have a valid franchise. So my request of the board today, after the public hearing, and if there are any comments, is to repeal the previous resolution giving a franchise to Mr. Parker, and to issue a new 25-year franchise to Mr. Armstead. So if you want to call on Mr. Armstead, or else proceed with the public hearing.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you very much. You explained it pretty well. Supervisor Christensen, do you have questions?
No, I don't think. It's largely clerical, it's administrative, so I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Klein.
Neither do I. I think it's pretty cut and dry, so.
I guess I just have one. The 25-year, is that pretty standard, or?
It is, Chairman Humphrey. A year or two ago, we did a franchise with Arizona Public Service Company. And at that time, I was saying the previous county manager said, that seems a very lengthy time. So we issued, I think, two previous utility franchises for 15 years. But when I talked to the representative of APS, she goes, it's standard for all utility companies to have 25-year franchises. So we went back to the 25-year.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. So if there's no further questions from the board, I'll open it to a public hearing. Do we have any public in Payson?
No, sir.
I see we have no public here. Okay, then do we have any comments from YouTube? Mr. Minlove, you? Oh, okay, then if there's no public comment, I will close the public hearing and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to adopt resolution number 21-09-01, repeal resolution number 07-02-01, and grant a 25-year water service franchise to Arroyo Water Company, Incorporated, contingent receiving a certificate of insurance within 30 days after today.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, item was approved unanimously. Okay, moving on to 3B, information, discussion, action. To adopt resolution number 21-09-02, acknowledging the transfer of ownership of Beaver Valley Water Company to Beaver Valley Water Company Incorporated, owned by Michael Armstead, and granting a 25-year water service franchise to Beaver Valley Water Company Incorporated, contingent upon receipt of a certificate of insurance within 30 days after the adoption of resolution number 21-09-02. Again, Marion Shepherd, good morning.
Thank you. On May 2nd, 1966, the Board of Supervisors issued a 25-year franchise to Beaver Valley Development Company, doing business as Beaver Valley Water Company. And this franchise expired on May 2nd, 1991. The owner of the franchise did not come back to Gila County to renew the franchise. Therefore, in accordance with the state's retention schedule, the records were destroyed 5 years after the franchise expired, which would have been 1996. So in talking to Mr. Armstead again, I learned that he also owns this company, and I'm asking really the same thing. There is no valid resolution in place for an existing franchise, so this would be just to issue a brand new franchise. And I will add that the motion the board makes, all three would have contingent upon receiving the insurance certificate, which is a requirement of ASIP under our resolution for the guidelines for issuing franchises. So I do again have Mr. Armstead if anyone has any questions.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christensen, do you have questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question, and I think I know the answer. So I do know that the Beaver Valley HOA and Mr. Armstead are in dispute over a pipe and part of a building, and I just want to make sure that what we're doing today won't give an advantage or disadvantage to either party legally.
You may want to talk to Mr. Armstead.
That may be a question for her attorney or Mr. Armstead. And I don't know.
Well, I don't believe it will cause a problem because this is a clerical thing. I just want to make sure that it doesn't create an advantage or disadvantage to you or the HOA with regard to, and you know what I'm talking about, of course.
Michael, if you'll
Okay, if you're going to talk, would you please come up to the microphone? And there again, we're getting one half of a conversation. So
Right. Yep.
It's not going to be much of a
Is that
conversation.
green light on, sir?
Yeah, it's on. Can
Okay,
you hear me?
good. Yes, now
Yeah.
we can.
Beaver Valley Water Company Incorporated holds a valid CCNN, and so it already has the same as the franchise. And it's an exclusive right that no one else can sell water in the area. And what the franchise gives us is the right to move water through those pipes. It's a conveyance and maintenance program. It's basically what the franchise is. But through the body of your document, I have to maintain ACC compliance. And they maintain ACC compliance to DEQ, EPA, and DWR. So, that CCNN is a requirement of, originally was the requirement of Beaver Valley Water, had to achieve a CCNN from the ACC. So, and that's carried on consistently
throughout the 4 ownerships of Beaver Valley. So, no.
Okay, while you're there, hold on. Supervisor Christensen, did that answer your question?
I think so.
And I don't know if we could answer that here today. Supervisor Klein, do you have a question?
I do not. Thank you.
I only have one on the insurance certificate that's
Yeah.
required of you. What is that insurance for?
It's a liability insurance for working in a public thoroughfare or right of way.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
figured.
In case someone
I
drives
found
off in a ditch or something like that, property damage, stuff like that.
Okay.
But it was really hard to obtain. I got to tell you, be honest. Water companies don't make money. The rate-based structure through the utilities, the insurance companies did not want to carry the water companies because they don't make enough money. So we were able to do it through the management company that's actually doing the work. So
Okay, well, that's good you have it. Well, while you're there, do we have any, well, I guess if the board is finished with their questions, I'll open it for a public hearing. And do we have any public in Payson that would care to comment or ask questions?
No, sir.
And I see none here. Do we have any on YouTube? Mr. Armstead, thank you
thank you.
very much. And with no comments from the public, I will close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to adopt resolution number 21-09-02, granting a 25-year water services franchise to Beaver Valley Water Company Incorporated, contingent upon receiving a certificate of insurance within 30 days after today.
I will second that.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Moving on to public hearing. C, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 21-09-03, acknowledging the transfer of ownership of Jake's Corner Water System to Management Systems LLC, owned by Michael Armstead, and granting a 25-year water service franchise to Management Systems LLC to provide water services in the general area of Jake's Corner, contingent upon receipt of a certificate of insurance within 30 days after the adoption of resolution number 21-09-03. Mayor Shepherd, you've been busy.
Yes. So there is no record on file of a franchise ever being issued by the Board of Supervisors for the service area of Jake's Corner. And that's not to say there wasn't one previously issued, but with the state's retention schedule, it would have been long destroyed. So again, this is an application submitted by Mr. Armstead. He acquired this company in 2016, and the only thing different about this is it's a transfer of the assets. And so again, on August 19, 2016, Mr. Armstead had previously submitted an application to the Arizona Corporation Commission, but they said because it was a transfer of assets that they didn't have any further dealings. Is that correct, Mr. Armstead? Well, I mean, they didn't
Okay.
have
Oh.
to.
Would you come up to the microphone for a question so
need
that
your help,
everybody can
Michael.
hear you, please?
Thank you. So when that was done, it was a little bit different than the other companies, correct, if you want to explain?
Yeah, all 3 companies were different. I get involved for specific reasons. Beaver Valley's was because they didn't have an assured water supply. Jake's Corner facilities were inequated, need to be worked on. And then Arroyo, of course, was growing, and so I obtained that. Jake's Corner was owned by a sole proprietorship, so I had to transfer that into a corporation to run as a public service corporation. And they were supposed to put that in Arroyo's corporation, but they put it in Management Systems, and that's how we wound up DBA, the management company. The company I designed was to go in and fix rural water companies and bring them financing and structure. But that's how Jake's Corner had an asset transfer, where Arroyo didn't need one because there was a valid corporation. We just purchased the stock, and that the assets really haven't transferred, right? They're still in the same company. Beaver Valley, we had to create the company again because it was a sole proprietorship too, and then transfer those assets. In a transferring of assets at the ACC, we have to go in front of a law administrative judge. There's public notification. There's background research and staff reports on both myself and finances. And it takes about 6 to 8 months to go through the process. It's not an easy process. If that answers your question.
Okay, Marion, did you have anything further? Okay, while you're there, if you'll just hold for a second, do we have any, if there's nothing further from the board, then I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any public in Payson?
No, sir.
I see none here. Do we have any public in YouTube? Okay, and Mr. Minlove's not giving me the eyes, so I think we're good there. So I will close public hearing and call for motion. Mr. Armstead, thank you very much for your input.
Can I say one more thing? I did, since I was working with Marion and we were working in the body of this document, I did have an opportunity to visit with the ACC. And so what I'm trying to do is during that asset transfer process at the ACC, you have to be compliant with DEQ and DWR. So now I'm asking the ACC to amend to add your franchise as part of that process. So that means that if any time that there's a transfer of a utility in Gila County, then you would be part of that process where you can deny or have input into that asset transfer, okay?
Thank you very much.
You're
It
welcome.
may save Marion a lot of research in the future.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt resolution number 21-09-03, granting a 25-year water services franchise to Management Systems, LLC, contingent upon receiving a certificate of insurance within 30 days of today.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Thank you very much for all your work and effort, and I wish you well in the water company business. Okay. Moving on to regular agenda items. Information, discussion, action to approve the Superior Court's submission of the FY 2020 Fill the Gap grant application to the Administrative Office of the Courts for enhanced criminal case scanning in the amount of $515.79. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. John Barrett, thank you. Good to see you today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. You do have a grant application in front of you this morning. That grant application is, we at Superior Court draft that application and send it off to the Administrative Office of the Courts. And that funding provides extra scanning devices within our lower courts throughout the county. So Winkleman gets a benefit from this, Hayden, the magistrate court there, and of course Globe, their magistrate court, and then our limited jurisdiction courts up in Payson that are located with our justice court there. So we do provide additional scanning stations to all of the smaller courts that probably could not afford them themselves. We've been doing this since 2015 or thereabouts, and this year we have actually expanded the application to accommodate a couple more devices for our Payson LJ court operations up there. We think eventually the courts will be paperless to some degree, but while we're working through that transition, we have to convert the paper to electronic documents, and this program supplements that efforts for our lower courts. And with that, I can take any questions.
Thank you, Jonathan. Supervisor Christensen, any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, John, for that. I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein?
Neither do I. Thank you.
I think it'd be a great program and probably help you out in the long run.
Definitely.
As far as filing and things of that nature, or looking up files. So I think it's a great deal. Okay, if there's no further questions from the board, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the Superior Court submission of the FY 2020 or 22 Fill the Gap grant application.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item is approved. Jones, thank you.
Thank you.
4B, information discussion action to approve change order number 2 to Core Construction Incorporated, contract number A-133-2009, the Payson multi-purpose building and site improvement to increase the contract by $99,965 for a new guarantee maximum price of $5,548,099 and a new total contract amount of $5,581,901 to allow Core to use Stanley Security as a subcontractor to install a proprietary equipment at the Gila County Complex and authorize the Facilities Department Manager to sign change order number 2. Mr. Homovia, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman. Supervisor Christensen and Klein, good morning. I'd like to start off with the numbers and just take us back to 2019 when we entered into an umbrella agreement with Core Construction for them to first provide the pre-construction services. But embedded in that initial contract was also for them to provide a guaranteed maximum price based on the final design of the building. And they did both those things. The $33,802 was for the purpose of for those two things, the pre-construction services, while they were designing the building, and then to give us a guaranteed maximum price at the end of the design. So they did that, and then the board in 2021, early 2021, approved a guaranteed maximum price for $5,448,134. That number represents the cost to build the building, to put the building up. And that is a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed. If we don't change anything on the drawings, then they have to meet that price. There may be weather delays, and in the event of weather delays really delaying them outside of the time that they had allowed, then there could be a change order. Earlier this year, they provided a change order to us. It was for X number of days during one of the snow events in Payson. There was no cost associated with it and no delay. They are ahead of schedule. So it was $0, no delay. We didn't bring that to the board. Under the advice of finance, procurement, we're going to bring that to the board in the near future. Today, we're talking about change order number 2. And change order number 2 is $99,965. And that's to pay for some upgrades to our security. The upgrades are both in features, number of doors, and the use of Stanley Security. A few weeks ago, we discovered that we were not using Stanley Security, that we were using a different vendor, and that vendor is not compatible with our software, our cards, and the rest of our system. And we wanted to make sure that we had one system, one security system for building security for the entire county. And that's why we're here in front of you. So the current, a little general information, the current alarm contractor, which our general contractor, Core Construction, is using for Gila County Complex, cannot supply the proprietary equipment needed to operate in Gila County Security System Network. Our current security vendor, Stanley Security, needs to be brought on board, and so that they can perform the security portion of the building. The increase is due both to the cost of the proprietary equipment that Stanley brings to the table, as well as changes and additional features to some of the doors in the building. Times have changed a little bit. The way we looked at building security a couple of years ago is a little different. As an example, the recorder's asking us to look at her facility here in Globe for the upcoming election. The doors that surround the recorder in the assessor office in the new complex are going to be equipped to have full functionality. As an example, the judge has the lockdown feature for the building. And we wanted to make sure that as many doors as possible were controlled by the judge, and those are some of the additional features that we're adding to the system. Upgrading the Stanley Security as a subcontractor will allow for the county security system to remain compatible throughout all locations. We thought that that is absolutely necessary and essential to what we're doing. So today, facility management is requesting your approval for change order number 2 to Core Construction to increase the contract by $99,965 for a new guaranteed maximum price of $5,548,099 and a new total contract amount of $5,581,901 to allow Core to use Stanley Security as a subcontractor to install the equipment in the Gila County complex and to authorize Facilities Department Manager Chris Remedy to sign change order number 2. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Homero. Supervisor Christensen, do you have questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Homero, for that explanation. I probably have a comment and then a question. So this is the kind of thing, of course, nobody likes, an added cost. So we already know we don't like it. So we paid for drawing. We paid quite a bit, I'm sure, for these plans. We hired a professional person to do it. And this compatibility issue was not something they looked at. So I consider that a failing of not our staff, but the contractor that we hired.
One of the things about guaranteed maximum price kind of contracts is that it creates a partnership between you, the architect, and the builder. And the builder sitting at the table, the county staff is sitting at the table, and the architect is sitting at the table many times. If I were to look to see process improvement, it would be to all three, including county staff. I think we had opportunities to pick it up somewhere along the way. Unfortunately, we picked it up a few weeks ago, and but I believe that all three parties have something to share. So what's happening is the engineer is designing everything at no additional cost. Core Construction is passing the cost through. They're not adding any of their insurance costs, their bond costs, their profit costs, none of that. It's a pass-through cost. We're using Stanley Security at the state contract that we currently have. They're offering that price to Core. And it's that partnership that keeping the price at $99,000. Otherwise, it'd be probably $150,000. But to your point is, can we improve? Yes, we can do. We will do better next time. And it's just one of those things that we failed to pick up a little earlier.
Yeah, my point is, I don't think we failed. So my question is, obviously we need these doors. They should have been on the original bid price maximum. It should have been involved in that. So this just under $100,000, if we were to go back in time and that were put into the contract for the Stanley doors rather than the other ones, would we have gotten these doors for less than this, or exactly this, or more than this?
There's two components of cost in what we're talking about. One of them is the door hardware. The door hardware has a line item in the guaranteed maximum price. That line item is number 56. It has about $133,000 associated with it. The other part is security. Security also is a line item. Door security, building security. That line item is $110,000, and the cost associated with that is $69,000. So we're increasing the door hardware by $29,000. We've changed some of the door hardware design, and we're using Stanley equipment. And the difference between Stanley equipment, it's about $65,000. The remainder of that is Stanley equipment. So potentially we may have, the cost to us could have been $65,000 instead of $100,000. $69,000 instead of $100,000 had we undertaken this action at the very beginning.
So the real impact here is if we would have done it right if everyone had done it right from the first, we would have saved $30,000.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Now to add to that, So there's door hardware that's been shipped. It's sitting at that facility. We're not going to use it. However, we can use it for the upcoming modifications that we may undertake for the recorder here in Globe. We could use it at the Microsoft building. We could use it at future modifications that we have in the building. It's hardware that we use. It's just not what we needed for that building.
Okay. Thank you, Homero.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Homero. After having a long discussion with you the other day, I'm a little bit more settled on this than I was prior to that conversation. But one of the things, too, we're still sitting there looking at that we talked about was our contingency fund in this building. And we're sitting there with a pretty good chunk of money left over that hopefully we don't have to use through the remainder of this building that would actually go against this cost. So we have a chance to even lower this cost by more as long as everything goes like we're hoping it'll go, which there's a lot of finishing to do, so who knows. But anyway, I'm good with it. We do, security issues today are just crazy, and we have to stay on top of it. So, Homero, thank you. Thank you, facilities, and hopefully this is the last change order we see. So, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Klein. If I could, yes, there is a contingency. We're halfway through our contingency. It's $163,000, 3% of the total cost, which is in some ways a small level of contingency, but we like to operate that way. Okay, $163,000. We spent about half of it. Right now it looks like we may not have to spend the other half. However, we have to dig for curbs, sidewalks, parking lots, and when you dig in Mother Earth, you never know what you're going to find. So I thought it was unfair to take that contingency away from the contractor. We'd be here sometime in the near future for some amount, and that we fund the security the way we're doing it through a change order. And hopefully we can bring back some of that security money and return it to the county like Supervisor Klein just mentioned. I would like to say a couple of things. Time is very urgent for us because if we delay the project, there's costs that come up. If we delay the drywall, or if we delay any of the contractors, that causes them to show up and no, you can't work because we're waiting. So I'd like to thank the clerk of the board, our county attorney, finance, and the facility staff for expediting this board item to the board. Because with your approval, we can move forward without incurring any of those costs.
Thank you, Homero. Yeah, I think, okay, so we had a change order on this, and a lot of the security is required by the state. And I think it's understood that it's great that we all do it the same. But, through COVID, I watched plywood go from like $14 a sheet to $70 a sheet. So I was expecting a lot more change orders than this for a security system, because in my own construction, the prices have just gotten astronomical. So for facilities and you and staff to be able to bring this building in, and just with this change order and the animal shelter under budget is amazing to me. You have no complaints from me here at all, and I appreciate very much what you and facilities have done to work together to keep our costs low. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if there's no more comments from the board, I'll call for a motion.
And Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve the change order number 2 to the contract number A-133-2009 as presented, and authorize the Facilities Department Manager to sign that change order number 2.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, regular agenda item 4C, information discussion action to use Arizona State contract number ADSP 018207044 with J.E. Fuller Hydrology and Geomorphology Incorporated in the amount of $90,000 to design and develop construction plans for mitigation solutions for the high-priority flood area affected by the Telegraph Fire burn scar. Shannon Coots, good morning. We don't see you here often. Good to see you.
No. Good morning, Chairman, Supervisor Klein, and Christensen. With this fire, we've had quite a few new nuances that we had to learn. And J.E. Fuller has helped us a lot because they have experience in these types of things. So to help us with the rest of our mitigation, we asked them to give us a price on helping us with the flows that are potentially going to be damaging for property. So anyway, this is one that's going to bring information to us so that we can design and maybe help construct some mitigation efforts.
Thank you.
So that's
Supervisor Christensen, do you have comments or questions?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for that. I just need for my own information. So where does this money come from? Is this grant money? Is it our money?
It's actually going to be coming from the DFFM, the Department of Forestry.
Okay.
So they are going to reimburse us for this.
Reimbursable.
And
Okay.
hopefully we won't spend the whole 90, but
Okay.
we just never know. That was just the top half.
Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Shannon, this 90,000, and we're talking about the Telegraph burn scar, but
Correct.
is that going to incorporate part of the Mescal burn scar as well?
I believe it's all considered one,
So
but I wasn't in on the actual.
Yeah,
There
I
were
think being
several
that
of them in
they
there.
joined, they just
Yeah.
consider it one fire and they named
Right.
it the Telegraph, is from what I understood.
And
Right.
so when we're talking about the high priority flood areas, do you, by chance, off the top of your head, know what's classified as high priority flood areas on this?
I believe it was the amount of property damage that they were looking at. I can't be positive, but I know that there were over 30 of them that they looked at, and they had to pare it down because of the funding.
So when we get this analysis back from J.D. Fuller, what's that going to give us? What is that going to look like going forward in the future? Is that going to help with more mitigation in these drainages?
That was the intent, yes. So we're hoping that there'll be some type of mitigation, either changing the flow or being able to slow the flow down, that kind of thing.
I'm just asking a lot of these questions because I'm real mindful of this money and where it's coming from and
Sure.
how many people are dependent on this money. So
Right.
I want to make sure that whatever analysis we get out of J.D. Fuller is something we're going to use, that it's going to
Right.
really kind of give us a focus going forward and help us with maybe a lot of these stream mitigations and cleaning it out.
Right.
Is that kind of where we're headed?
That's it. That's the main idea.
If I could,
Omar, please, if you would input to help.
Chairman and Supervisor Klein. So we have 23 projects that driving around with J.E. Fuller, Steve Sanders, Brent Klein, Jerry Irish, and other members of the Team DART thought were appropriate for us to look at. Some of them are on Forest Service, and it's probably the Forest Service that should be doing something. We focused on projects that affect people and houses and businesses. And the projects center around six-shooter, bloody tanks, and the washes that we saw flowing in and around the Globe Miami area. What we've done is we've asked J.E. Fuller to help us prioritize what's the number of homes affected. They did a GIS layout of the number of homes versus what they're trying to do. They came up and consolidated a number of these projects. They came up with, I think it's 4 projects that they're trying to get an early cost on to get it in front of NRCS. Actually, they've done that already. and they submitted that to NRCS. There was a timeline they had to meet. It was last week. They met it. And now we're waiting for NRCS to offer their input. NRCS is kind of like this partnership that I talked about. They were with us in the development of these projects, so we wouldn't be that far off. But now we need to see if NRCS has the money. And later on, we'd like to explore if we can get the 25% match from DEMA, the money that are available through the governor for $100 million that he put together, so that we can sponsor some of that 25%. We will bring to you in the very near future, perhaps the next board meeting or the following board meeting, the analysis we went through, the size of the project, our portion, whether or not we can get it through DEMA. Those details are forthcoming. We just needed J.E. Fuller to help us get started.
Okay, Homer, and so if we spend this $90,000 on this and we get this report back, do you anticipate us having to do that on any other areas as well, or is this going to cover everything we need covered?
They're event-based. If we'd have to go look back at the latest event and whether or not it's in the time frame to do something for any one area that we think about in the future. There's a time frame in which you have to do it after the event. It's a rain event that is affected by the burn scar, and if we're within that time frame, we can open that up for other events.
So just to give our folks on YouTube a little bit of an insight to this, so what you're saying, or what I'm getting at from you, is where a lot of these folks were impacted the most, they're going to do that analysis in those areas to show whether or not we need built up banks, dig it out deeper, clean it out, whatever it is. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, and from the Woodbury fire to the Bush fire to the Telegraph fire, a lot of times NRCS shows up and says, well, design us what you want to do, and we'll either accept it or not accept it. And so at times we're sitting here in rural county, and what do we design? We would expect them to come and help us. But they didn't. They said, well, give us what you have designed, and we'll either accept it or not. So to me, the money is well spent to J.E. Fuller, because they do these designs, so we can hand them to the NRCS and say, now approve this, because we're not doing our own designs anymore. We're getting designs, and what we had, like 17 out of 23 approved. And so we have to, by having them do some designs for us, we had a lot more approved than we have in the past. And so they approved so many that now with the match money, we have to kind of decide on which ones are the most important, because we're shocked that we got all these approved when in the past we kind of fell on deaf ears. So Shannon, thank you very much for your presentation. Is there any further questions from the board?
No, but I got a comment on this.
Good.
Imagine that.
Good.
Huh?
Come on.
So one thing I appreciate Homer saying was some of this is actually going to be off the private property on the federal side, on the Forest Service side. And I just want to point out to everybody that's listening to us on YouTube and wherever else they're listening to us, that's kind of a bunch of BS that we're having to do that for the feds after this fire and all the fact. And that just goes to show that we need some real strong conversations on what happens on these big incidents and what's going to happen after the fact. Otherwise, taxpayers are picking up that load again. And that's the shame that I see here on that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
You betcha.
You ready for...
if there's no further comment, I'd love a motion. Sure.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to authorize the use of Arizona State Contract Number ADSP 018-207044 with J.E. Fuller Hydrology and whatever that is.
Geomorphology.
Incorporated as presented. Thank you, Shannon.
I will second that.
Okay, having a motion and a second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. And I had to practice that several times in front of the mirror.
I wouldn't catch you off guard. It's tough.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one. Okay, moving on to 4D, information discussion action to authorize the advertisement of statement of qualifications on call engineering firm consulting services for professional services to review Gila County grading and drainage ordinances number 08-01 and right-of-way ordinance number 02-01. Again, Shannon.
Okay. Thank you. Some of these ordinances are rather old. We have one that's 19 years old. That's the right-of-way ordinance. And the grading and drainage ordinance was adopted in 2008, but there still needs to be some tweaking done. And we have looked at it, and we can't seem to get the wording right. So we're asking to hire a firm that can help us do this for a minimal cost. We're trying to keep the cap at $60,000 or less. So at least when we get it done and they start, once they look at other counties and how they operate their ordinances, I think it will help us with the public quite a bit.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christensen, do you have questions?
Thank you. No, I don't.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Shannon. Yes, I have more of a comment than a question. If we're looking at something like a $60,000 price tag to review what we're writing, I think we ought to sit back in our chairs and write it a little bit better. That's kind of what I'm thinking. There's no more knowledge out there than all you folks that are out there on the ground. And we have those positions that are should be capable of doing such work. And so that would be my take on this anyway, is just that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. And I have no questions or comments. And so if the board doesn't have any more, I'll call for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I make a motion, I'd just a comment that this is just to find out what it's going to cost.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
okay.
We don't have to go with them, correct?
I move to authorize the advertisement of the statement of qualifications for on-call engineering firm consulting services for professional services.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, having a motion, a second. All in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item was approved 2-1. Oh,
Yeah, you got it. Thanks.
okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, got it. We're good? Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to 4E. Information, discussion, action to approve the use of Omnia Cooperative Contract Number 161534 with Empire Machinery and approve the Empire Customer Purchase Agreement for the purchase of a 2021 Caterpillar 120 AWD motor grader using discounts from trading in a J-011 motor grader for a total of $302,837.82. Shannon Benji showed up today. We're just going to give you a whole half a page.
I asked for it apparently. So. This motor grader is going to replace one that's quite old. We bought it in 1994, but it's a 1988 model. We put a lot of money into it, about $124,000. The moldboard whole system went out, and to replace that, it just wasn't worth it. The iron's getting tired and old and starting to crack, so it's time for a replacement. And we do use these a lot. We don't use them just on dirt roads. We use them plowing snow, mud events like we've been having. So it is necessary that we replace this. It will be replaced with HERF dollars. So it comes out of our budget, and it has been approved.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christensen, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I notice here that they're going to give us $24,500 credit for J11.
Correct,
And
which
it's
is
broken and
much more than
Yeah.
we would get at auction.
It's a mess, and so we've gotten our use out of that one.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
So Shannon, the last motor grader we acquired, we had on a lease.
Correct.
Is that not working well? I mean,
It is. At the time, our budget was so low that we couldn't really go out and buy a whole new one. This time we made arrangements so that we would have enough money in the budget to buy full price at the time, instead of going in and leasing. Now, the lease purchase is still a good option, but since we're not going to trade these in after 7 years, we're going to keep it. So we're just going to bite the bullet and spend the money.
yeah, and I asked that because, you know, when you look at the time frame on this and the amount of money we spent in labor and parts on this machine,
Yes.
I can't help but go back to the idea of the leasing part of it. And knowing the issues that some of these newer motor graders have had,
Right.
that that's why I was questioning why we weren't using a lease instead of purchase. But
then again, you have to pay the interest along with it, so it does expand the price a little more.
mm-hmm.
But with this one, it's a 7-year warranty, 7,000 hours. So I think we'll get some good use out of it. Hopefully, they'll get all the kinks worked out underneath the warranty. So that's our plan.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I guess I'll hold questions. Okay, I'll ask for motion.
Oh, let me get here.
We're on 4E.
4E. I'll make the motion, Mr. Chair, to approve the use of Omnia Cooperative Contract Number 161534 with Empire Machinery for use as presented, and approve the Empire Customer Purchase Agreement.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Moving on to 4F. Information, discussion, action to approve the use of Omnia Cooperative Contract Number 161534 with Empire Machinery and approve the Empire Customer Purchase Agreement for the purchase of 2 side dump buckets in the amount of $92.36 for flood mitigation reimbursable through the Department of Forestry and Fire Management. Again, Shannon.
So this is a good break for Omnia. They have a good purchase price break. I think it was 32%. So that's very good. We've never used side buckets before, but it would certainly help us so that we don't have to close down a road completely while we're taking the debris off of it. We can have the truck on one lane and the loader on the same lane, and it can just dump sideways into the truck. So I think it's going to save us a lot of time and a lot of aggravation for our drivers. Plus, we can also use this in the creek areas where we don't have a lot of room to move. We don't have to back up too terribly far. We can just dump it sideways. And these will fit on our current loaders. There's 2 of them, and they are, like basically exchangeable parts. And it's all reimbursable through DFFM.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. No, I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
I guess between me and you, we're busy today. So I look at this kind of the same way with that different money. That money's real important. We've lived without side dump buckets for an awful long time.
Yeah.
Had this been paid through HERF, I think I would agree with it. But coming through DFM and spending that money that it has such a bigger need than side dump buckets, yeah. The conventional buckets on our equipment and everybody's equipment for many, many years has been sufficient. I know that it probably could be an advantage here and there, but not enough for me to agree to spend that money out of DFM.
Okay.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the use of the Omnia cooperative contract number 161534 with Empire Machinery for the use as presented and approve the Empire customer purchase agreement.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item was approved, 2-1. Moving on to 4G, information discussion action to approve the use of ADOT contract number CTR052847 with Empire Machinery to purchase a 2021 Caterpillar 279D3 compact track loader in the amount of $80,000.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but could we, Marion, you had a question on the last item, authorization, or Jessica?
You voted against. You said it was who?
No, Supervisor Klein voted, he didn't approve of the last item. Would you like me to name them on the next one if we have issues with?
I didn't hear it, so yeah, it was just me.
Okay, yeah, that's okay.
You okay?
I can give names if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got
Yeah,
two
no,
here that are
we're
good now.
Yeah, and I don't look at her unless I think I have to because
I'm looking right at her.
she lets me know. Good. Okay. We are going forward with 4G, and I'll start over. Information discussion action to approve the use of ADOT contract number CTR052847 with Empire Machinery to purchase a 2021 Caterpillar 279D3 compact track loader in the amount of $80,478.34 for flood mitigation reimbursable through the Department of Forestry and Fire Management. Shannon, do we need to get you a chair or something?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. I'll be sitting the rest of the day.
You're
It's
up
good.
again.
This is what we usually call a skid steer. It's a smaller piece of equipment that can get underneath the bridges and sometimes some of those the concrete washes that we have. It's easy to clean out box culverts that way. Usually have to do it by hand, or we shoot it with water and hope it comes out the other side. But this one is something that I think they've been wanting for a while, but they just haven't purchased it. However, it is 100% reimbursable by DIFM. So I guess they thought it would be very useful right now with all the mitigation.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen, questions?
Thank
comments?
you. Well, maybe I can see how we would need these things, and so I guess I need to be better informed as why we would object to spending this money that's reimbursable through this department. So maybe somebody could help me with that, why there'd be an objection to that.
Well, there is a finite number that they have given us.
Okay.
And so as we spin through it, we might come up later and realize, something else that we haven't spent it on that we thought might be more important. However, this is pretty important at this time to get this piece of equipment. However, that's why we're bringing it to you. It's up to the board.
Roughly speaking, what's that finite number?
$100 million.
$5 million.
$5 million.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's helpful.
Supervisor Klein, questions,
Thank you,
comments?
Mr. Chair. Shannon, don't we already have a skid steer?
I believe we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we do.
Yes.
And there again, I'm holding tight to this. And I see if there's a special need for something like that where we need it for 2 or 3 days, even a week, we go rent it and take it home. Yeah. For about $4,000, we could rent one for a week. So
but they're not available.
Well, they are somewhere in the state of Arizona.
Somewhere, yes.
Yes. And so we're now up over $130,000 if this goes through on DIFM money. Right. That's being spent for stuff that I really don't see a priority spending it. So that's just my comment, and thank you for presenting.
Okay.
Mr. Minlow.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, when Shannon says this is a kind of a completely different subject, but did want to put it out there that when Shannon says it's reimbursable by DIFM, Public Works has already gone to DIFM and got a preliminary approval for these purchases and things that we're doing. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So there's already when Shannon says they're reimbursable, they've already given preliminary approval for this.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Supervisor Klein, would you like to comment?
I would, and it has to do with the DIFM money. There's only one pot of DIFM money. That is it, and it's for the state of Arizona. It's not for Gila County. And so as we go through this and we expend funds, even though they agree to reimburse us ahead of time, when that money runs out, it's done. And we still have people that have not been approved yet for what they're trying to apply for. And when we talk about the state of Arizona, we're still faced with the flooding that went on in Gila Bend, other fires in Arizona, and so forth that has an opportunity of tapping into this fund as well. And that's why I'm real conscientious about these dollars and trying to get our folks covered first on these things that we can absolutely live without. And so that's all I wanted to say. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I just like to say, it's great having a board and three different opinions. That's why we are a board and come from three different directions. I think it's great to have that put together the way it is so that we all have our opinions and mine. I've been burned up. I've been flooded in my district from the bushfire. I'm still getting houses flooded at Roosevelt. And from the Woodbury fire, I'm getting houses flooded, and from all flooding here. So I know that I've been fighting floodwaters for the last 3 years, and it's going to happen every time it rains. So where I'm at is to look over my people or my district. We have a lot of flooding. We're going to have a lot of flooding for 5 more years. And so I kind of have a different take, but like I say, that's why it's great that we have a board and a difference of opinion. And so that's all I have to say, and I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the use of ADOT contract number CTR 052847 with Empire Machinery for the use as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item was approved minus Supervisor Klein. Yes. Need to call for name votes? Nay votes? Oh, okay. Okay. Let me start, I don't need to start over. Okay, just for item 4G, do we have a nay vote?
Aye, me.
Supervisor Klein voted nay. Marion, are we got you confused yet? Do you want names? Do you want ayes and nays? How would it be best for you? Okay.
As Mr. Minlow stated, all in favor say aye, all approve.
Okay. Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, to actually verbalize the ayes and the nays.
Okay.
So calling for the
So I'm not
ayes
speaking
and then
for
call
me.
for the
Yes,
nays.
okay. Makes sense. Cool. We're learning a lot today. And Shannon, after this one, we'll let you go.
Awesome.
Okay, on H, information discussion action to approve the use of cooperative agreements Sourcewell 032119-CAT and 062320-CAT for heavy equipment purchased related to wait, my glasses are not working very well today. Let me start over. Information discussion action to approve the use of cooperative agreements Sourcewell 032119-CAT and 062320-CAT for heavy equipment purchase related accessories, attachments, parts, supplies, and rentals for the agreement terms with the Board of Supervisors using Caterpillar Empire Machinery and Equipment Southwest LLC from September 7th, 2021 to September 6th, 2022 with a not to exceed amount of $600,000. Shannon.
Chairman, board member boards, we have gone through this. I think this is our third or fourth time asking the board if we can use this Sourcewell contract to gain discounts that are very helpful for operations. And Caterpillar has offered through Sourcewell a rental agreement also, which is discounted quite a bit. So we have found the last couple of years that staying under $400,000, which was our agreement with you previously, that it was not feasible. With the equipment that we're purchasing and all the breakdowns that we have, a lot of the machinery that has to be repaired has started to exceed that $400,000. And we either have to wait until the next agreement time with you, or we have to go over it. So I know that we had to go over it this last time. We had some major pieces of equipment that really didn't need replaced. They just needed some major repairs. So this last time we've gone over it almost $550,000 as a total instead of $400,000. So we've gone over it at $150,000. So we're asking the board to allow us to go up to $600,000. Not that we would necessarily expend that, but anytime that we purchase a piece of equipment through this Sourcewell, it comes out of that pot. Or if we have to pay some of our lease agreements, it comes out of this pot. So Caterpillar and Empire don't care what our agreement is, because no matter what we do, if we are a part of Sourcewell, they're still going to give us the discounts. So this is just trying to hold down costs in our own house with you. And we have found other sources such as Omnia. That's another cooperative program. Of course, we have the Arizona State, if they have something online that we can use that is comparable. But a lot of times, the money is more saved through Sourcewell than it is the other avenues. So that's what we're asking for, is to increase this from $400,000 to $600,000 a year.
Okay, Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. Is this HERF money?
Yes.
It is, okay. So you're asking for a new upper limit?
Right.
Okay. And the reason for this new upper limit is because of inflation?
Part of it. Part
prices?
of it is that, yes, and our equipment gets older, so we have to
So
make
there's more repairs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
How are we doing in our HERF budget?
We're
Shannon?
doing pretty good.
We're
Very
doing all
good.
right?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
we've been able to hold down costs pretty well in the departments.
This Sourcewell opportunity is a good deal. I remember it from before, so I always get a little bit nervous when we start up in costs like that. So,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, with us purchasing new equipment and things of that nature and getting rid of our older equipment, and seems like we've been doing quite a bit of that, but then we're still having to up what we lease and our parts and things of that nature. It's like burning the candle at both ends. We're getting newer equipment all the time, but we're still having to pay more for our parts and our rentals and our leases and things. And it just seems like our equipment costs just keep going. Going.
I agree, and I think a lot of that is because they just don't build them like they used to. So, and there's so many electronics.
Right, and so
You
that's
have
what I
to
was
think
thinking.
about the electronics.
If we lease a piece of equipment and it breaks down, it's up to the people that we lease that from to fix it, is it
Correct.
not?
Absolutely. Yes.
And if we had a 5-year-old piece of equipment on lease, couldn't we tell them, no, we don't want that one. We want to lease a 2-year-old piece of equipment so we're not having to work on it all the time.
I don't really know if that is the way it works, but I know that after the lease is complete, then we can swap it over into another piece of equipment.
And then they're responsible for all their repairs while
Correct.
we're leasing it.
Yes. Yes.
So if we had all leased equipment, we would have no expenses in repairs.
Just the downtime. Correct. We would still have to do maintenance on them, but it wouldn't be any major repairs.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there's no further comments, I'll call for a motion.
Do you have a comment?
No, I don't. I think I'm good. I've made a lot of them today. So I just remember talking about this on a motor grader a while ago. So
Well, that's why I said I'll hold, because I wanted to wait for the big one.
So I'll make the motion, but first, I would like to know going forward the difference of cost between purchase and leasing. How big a spread is that?
At this time, I believe they're offering 3.25% on a lease, and it depends on how many years you want it to go. So we try to shorten it up as much as we can. For some reason, that motor grader was 7 years. Most of our equipment is now 3 or 5.
Yes, so I understand the concept of a lease. It's basically renting the equipment, and so I know we don't have expenses involved with the ownership side that we do. So I would like to know the difference. You know, how much more does it cost to have a lease versus a purchase with repairs?
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the use of the cooperative agreement Sourcewell 032119-CAT and 062320-CAT as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion, a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. None opposed. But at some point in time, maybe we could have a work session on our equipment costs and things, and see for this $600,000. This is a year contract, so see where our $600,000 would go as far as leasing equipment rather than buying it and repairing it. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
then we'll move on.
Can I make a quick comment
Yes.
on it? These Empire Cat equipment companies, they have it down to a science, and they're working it so that they're exactly going to make money, and they're going to give the lease term where they're going to cover the warranties until there's going to start to be problems. So the Cat Empire has worked this out in great detail. We can work with them and get some information, bring it to you, but
Yeah, I understand everybody's in business to make money, but we, you know, maybe at some point in time we can just discuss on where a balance might be.
that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. I will move forward to 4I, information discussion action. To approve revised amendment number 1 to an intergovernmental agreement contract number IGA 2021-037 with the Arizona Department of Health Services for COVID-19 expanded response capabilities in the amount of $1,604,672 for the period beginning July 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2022. Michael O'Driscoll, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So this item is simply $1.6 million that we received about a year ago. But any time we switch out a budget item to spend it down, we have to gain permission from the state health department, and then they have to send it to their procurement department and send it back to us in the form of an additional IGA amendment. And so that's what this is. We switched some of the budget items around so we could spend it down, and this is the amendment to show that. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Marco. I don't have any. questions. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein?
Neither do I. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
I have no questions. I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve amendment number 1 to an intergovernmental agreement, contract number IGA 2021-037 with the Arizona Department of Health Services as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Okay, yeah, Michael, you got the next three, or, yeah, three. Okay, on 4J, information discussion action to approve amendment number 6 to an intergovernmental agreement contract number ADHS 18-177678 with the Arizona Department of Health Services to increase the grant award by $725,797 for vaccine equipment to enhance COVID-19 vaccination efforts in underserved communities.
Great. Thank you again, members of the board. So the next two items are exactly alike. This is funding that's already been given to the health department, and the state ADHS procurement department fell behind on issuing the IGAs and the amendments, if you can imagine all the federal funding that was coming in. So this is just getting the amendment in front of the board a little bit later than we typically receive, but this is funding that we've already received.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christensen, questions, comments?
No, sir. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein?
I just had a quick one. Michael, when you talk about underserved communities, I would be surprised if you're going to give any more people any shots in those communities. What are you guys thinking? I mean, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I said that a couple months ago. The people who really have not received the vaccine, we're not going to change their minds. This money and it doesn't really have to go towards vaccinations itself. It can go towards, going out to the remote rural areas of Gila County and just offering the vaccine or the testing itself out there, and just to get out there to make sure that the people have the choice. Yeah, I was fairly convinced a couple months ago, if you haven't received your vaccine yet, we're not going to change your mind. The only thing that will change somebody's mind in this, what we're seeing now, is if someone they know ends up in the ER or in ICU on a ventilator, then we see an increase of people coming in for testing and vaccinations. So when we saw the Delta variant come into Gila County and we saw the ER rooms filling up and the ICU beds being filled up, we went from about 10 vaccinations a week to about 100. So it's fear, I think, that's going to drive the people to get the vaccine, not necessarily us going out there saying, hey, you do want it.
Right.
I don't think we're going to convince too many people at this stage.
No. Well, thank you, Michael.
You betcha, sir.
Okay, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve amendment number 6 to an intergovernmental agreement, contract number ADHS 18-111. I'm sorry. I'll repeat, ADHS 18-177678 with the Arizona Department of Health Services as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Ayes were unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
could I ask a question? All four of these are related to COVID, and I know it's come up as a question in Payson that there's been questions about this. All four of these I through L, they are current contracts that you have that had previously been bid out. These are all going to be contracted services. Someone from the outside is doing them, not the county.
So item J and K are existing grants that we get on our annual basis from the state health department, and they just have given us an additional amount of money for that program, our immunization program, basically. If you're looking at item I, yes, we went out for that, pays for a lot of our staff, ERE. Like half of my salary for the last year came out of this one. Deputy directors came out of this one, and we also contracted out some of this for the pods and for the PPEs and everything else like that. And then the $2.5 million on the L, we haven't gotten to that one yet. That is a federal grant that the board approved a couple months ago, and that's just the RFP. And that's going to be, that item is to consult out that entire amount. And they're all COVID related, correct, sir?
I guess my bottom line of the question is that if we have an existing contract that we're contracting with another company and we get new money for that, do we have to go out to bid again? Or how does the procurement work that to make sure that we're giving competitive awards?
Oh, the competitive awards are through the finance department, Mary Spring and her staff, following state statute. If we have if we need to go out for to find a consultant to provide these services for us, I come in front of the board and ask to advertise the RFP, and we work with the finance department to get the scope. In other words, what does the grant require us to give the government in return for this money? And we write that up, and then we advertise for 2 weeks, I do believe, for open bids. Anybody in the country is allowed to provide an open bid. Those bids get sent to the finance department, and when the deadline comes around, they open up the bids to find out, and then we meet with the finance department and team to see if the bids actually met the qualifications of the grant.
Thank you, Michael. I was just trying to establish that all this money that's coming down, and since the very beginning of it, that we get money for COVID-related expenditures, COVID-related activities. All of those, when we subcontract those out, if it's not salaries or, just internal procurement, if we're contracting out these services, then they do go out to bid according to state statute and county policy, so that we are following all of the requirements and laws that we have of procurement for any of these dollars that we get for COVID. So I just wanted to specifically have that noted in the record.
Thank you. Okay. If there's no further questions or comments, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement, contract number CTR 05.
Too many COVID things.
For sure.
We were on J, we did a motion on J, then we were going on, but Mr. Benevolent then added some comments. Correct. So I think we can go on to.
So, okay, so the comments were made after the motion on J. Okay, so now we're clear, so now we're going to K.
I'll hold my motion till you read K.
We can give it, we just won't read it. Okay, now that we're on the same page and the same letter, we are on 4K now. Okay.
So Jay,
Do we still have an issue? Okay. Then we're starting off on 4K. Information, discussion, action to approve an intergovernmental agreement, contract number CTR 056164 with the Arizona Department of Health Services for COVID-19 expanded response capabilities from March 1st, 2021 to May 1st, 2023 in the amount of $839,579.
Great, thank you again. Same as the previous item. This is through an existing grant that we get through the health department, and this is just to keep our COVID testing and surveillance system going for the next couple of years.
Okay, Supervisor Christensen, comments on 4K.
I'm good, thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good as well, thanks.
Mr. Minla. Okay, then I will call for a motion on 4K.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement, contract number CTR 056164 with the Arizona Department of Health Services as presented.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. We are moving on to 4L. Michael, this will be your last one for today.
One more after that.
Oh. Okay,
You
so
didn't
you're
recognize
going to
it
be
'cause-
Paula Horn today too. Okay, that's him. Now we're back up to 4L. Information, discussion, action to review all bids submitted for request for proposal number 071921, submit grantee for the project management of advanced health literacy and enhanced community equitable responses to COVID-19, award the lowest, most responsive, responsible, and qualified company, authorize the chairman's signature on the award, and accept the project management grant award in the amount of $2,458,904 for the period of August 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023.
Great, thank you again. I'm excited about this grant award for approximately $2.5 million because within the body of the grant, $1.75 million of that, we're able to, through the consultant, give out to our community partners for some of the grant deliverables. And we have 7 partners out there, including the Hayden Winkleman Senior Center, Miami Senior Center, Payson Fire Department, Banner Payson Hospital, Wowza Consulting, Arizona Youth Partnership, Canyonlands Federally Qualified Healthcare Center down here in Globe, and Horizon Health as well. So part of this RFP was to have the consultant take $1.75 million out, work with these community partners, and get them some of this money so they're able to help us out with getting the message out there for testing and COVID and get the message out to some of their clients. So that's what this is. The RFP came in to finance, and then there was one bid on this, and the bid was from Community Alliance Consulting, and they met all of the qualifications for the grant guidelines, and my recommendation would be to award this contract to them. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Supervisor Christensen.
I think I get it. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
I'm good. Thank you for that, Michael. Good deal.
Okay, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to award a contract to Community Alliance Consulting to provide services as outlined in request for proposal number 071921 and authorize the chairman's signature on the contract and accept the project management grant award as presented.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Moving on to item 4M. Information discussion action to approve amendment number 4 to an intergovernmental agreement contract number CTR 043241 with the Arizona Department of Health Services in the amount of $262,860 for the special supplemental nutritional program with WIC Women, Infant, and Children Services, and $49,308 from BPCP Breastfeed Per Counseling Program Services. Michael O'Driscoll.
Great, thank you. I'm super excited. This is a non-COVID issue. So, so this is basically our WIC program. Every year we get this funding to provide the WIC nutrition education to all of the residents that need us in northern Gila County all the way down to southern Gila County. So this basically is just our annual award we receive each year. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. I don't have any questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Is this about the same amount you receive every year, Michael, or are we up a little, down a little?
It's stayed consistent for the last 4 or 5 years. And the money we receive is actually based on per client. They pay us per client. They don't pay us anything other than that. So when some of our clients, when we see a reduction in WIC, like at the beginning of COVID, we saw a huge reduction across the entire country of WIC clients, then we run the risk of actually this being far less. But because of COVID, they actually just kept us at even funding until next year. So next year we'll see. Right now, we actually, during COVID, actually increased our caseload. So that was really interesting to me to see that. So I think we're on good footing here to get this kind of level funding for the next couple of years.
Good. Thank you, Michael.
You bet, sir.
And I have no questions or comments, so I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve amendment number 4 to an intergovernmental agreement, contract number CTR 043241 with the Arizona Department of Health Services as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Moving on to 4N, information discussion action to approve amendment number 5 to contract number 0190444 between the Pinal County Council and Senior Citizens PGCSC Area Agency on Aging Region 5 and Gila County Community Services Development Housing Services, extending the contract effective June 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, and adding $20,226 to be used for home repair and renovation for a total contract amount of $65,084. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. This is our annual Pinal-Gila contract that we use for emergency situations with seniors and disabled. So, and it's amendment number 5 for them. It is up a little bit this year, but we leverage this with free hot water heaters, with all kinds of stuff when we go into homes.
Thank you very much, Melissa. Supervisor Christensen, questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Melissa. I don't have a question.
Supervisor Klein.
Melissa, at the end of the year when you're all done, do you still have people out there you haven't been able to serve because of the money?
Yes, we have a waiting list.
So we never get through it.
And the waiting list changes as emergencies happen, or this is truly an emergency repair. I don't have to do a lot of pre-testing. The applications are more simple. We do get out to every home, make sure it's what they need. If they are, if we're getting referred from the senior center or somebody, another caseworker, another agency that's out there in the home, we kind of take that information, and because it's usually an emergency, so we try to get out there within 24 to 48 hours of actually getting the call.
I keep looking at this amount of money, and it's not a lot. And then with the costs that we see these days of fixing stuff, just any kind of building costs, or just.
So this year we got an extra $10,000.
Well, we'll take it, but it'd be nice
Yeah.
if it was a lot more. So thank you, Melissa.
Yeah, and I noticed you said a lot of your programs have not been issuing the funding that they have, so it's good to see one coming back up, and maybe when the COVID backs off a little bit, they'll see more to be able to help some of our seniors in some of their emergencies in their homes. So thank you very much for reaching and grabbing for everything you can. And so I'll call for motion if there's no further comments.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve amendment number 5 to contract number 019-0444 with the Pinal-Gila Council for Senior Citizens, PGSCS, Area Agency on Aging, Region 5, as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Moving on to 4O, information discussion action to accept donation to Gila Proud Highway 60 Corridor Cleanup Project to include acknowledgement of all donations received to date. Amy Staton, good to see you here. We don't see you here often. Good morning.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Chairman and Board of Supervisors. As you probably remember, this program is to clean up and maintain and beautify the corridor of Highway 60 between the two communities of Globe and Miami. And this particular presentation is to acknowledge the donations that we've received so far and to just let you know where the others are in the process of receiving them. On our next slide, our project funders are BHP, City of Globe, FMI, the hospital, Capstone, Southern Gila County, EDC, and there's one other one that wasn't up here, or I didn't receive the information in time, but that's resolution for $1,000, and we have received that. So on that list, we've received BHP for $15,830. City of Globe is going to put it on their agenda for a future consideration of the program. FMI has been received. The hospital is working on that right now, and we've been in contact with them. We've received Capstone, and EDC is on its way. So we've received most of the commitments, or if we haven't received them, we know that they're coming pretty soon. So we have a few things that we're working on right now, and I am in contact with ADOT. Sounds like I'm doing a bunch of work, but I'm working with Public Works, and we're in contact with ADOT for right-of-way access on Highway 60 to find out where we can actually work. And I talked to Tom Holman, and he's getting us a map with where the private property starts and where the right-of-way for ADOT is. And so we'll have that. That'll be a nice thing to put in an RFP that we're working on getting before you, hopefully very soon, so that we can contract with the landscaper to come in and do the work. We had actually put out for the county to hire the landscaper and a second, but that hasn't worked out like we hoped, so we're going with the RFP. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen.
Oh, thank you. So this is just to clean up the highway. And so we would hire that out. We're going to put out for RFPs on that.
Yes.
That's quite a bit of money. So how much will that cover usually? How many miles?
Well, the actual budget is for $211,000, which that doesn't quite reach that, but it's about, I believe, about 6 miles from the bridge here east of Globe to west, the Welcome to Miami sign on that side, and then there's a few little offshoots. And mainly it's so that when people come into our community or when people are moving into our community, we're presenting the best front that we can, because everybody sees the highway. And so we want it to be as attractive as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
Amy, thank you for working on this, and thanks to everybody there that's thrown in some money. Weren't we using DOC as part of this too? Or was that part of the program?
That was originally we had that in mind, but some of the mining companies will not be a part of it if the DOC is part of it because of labor.
Of the wages. Okay, thank you, Amy.
Yeah, there's a labor deal. I was just dumbfounded when you create jobs for people to make this place look better, and we were unable to fill those jobs, and the jobs that Gila County has available now, and we can't fill them. And so here we are subcontracting it out because we couldn't find anyone that I guess needed a job. So Amy, thank you very much for continuing to work on this and working on it so that we can reach out to subcontractors and things. I appreciate all you do because, like I say, we're trying to help the community. It just would be nice if we had more people that wish to be employed.
Thank you.
Okay, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to accept all donations to the Gila Proud Highway 60 Corridor Cleanup Project, which have been received to date.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Amy, thank you very much. Information, discussion, action to accept the authorization of the chairman's signature on the 2021 U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Brownsfield Assessment Cooperative Agreement, grant number 98T22801, grant in the amount of $600,000 Kathy Melvin and Amy Stant.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Klein. I wanted to start off by letting you know that when you come to the motion, you don't need to have to say authorize the chairman's signature, as this agreement doesn't require a signature. First grant agreement I've ever seen that doesn't do that, but this one does not require a signature. If you remember back in 2019, I think we came before you to apply for a 2020 EPA Brownfields grant to do assessments on some of our older buildings through a consortium, and that grant wasn't approved, so Amy and I put together our heads and we revised the application, and we were awarded this year. So this is a 2020 EPA grant. So you can see on the slides, we kind of wanted you to know where these high-profile buildings are located. So Amy did a great job at finding these pictures. This grant will provide a Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental assessments for this consortium, which is made up of Globe, Miami, Superior, Kearney, Mammoth, Winkleman, and Hayden. So it's a pretty big group of communities that all need some help with some of these abandoned buildings or owners that don't live here. So Amy, do you want to talk a little bit about the list? No?
That particular thing.
We actually had this list that we developed, I think, in 2019. Did we add some in 2020? We did. So we added a few more, and all the communities kind of came together and said what were their most important, their priorities in their communities to get these assessed. There has been work done in this area by the IDA over the last few years. So there are going to be some of these buildings that have an assessment 1. So I'll explain what an assessment 1 is. Assessment 1 is where contractor comes in that's experienced in these hazardous waste substances like lead and asbestos. So they come in, they look at the building, and basically they just look it over and they look at the age, they look at the history of the building that they get like an assessor's records, and they say, okay, based on the age and condition, there probably are hazardous materials in here. So that's done with assessment 1. They do a report and send it back. Assessment 2, they actually go in and remove those materials. So we'll be ready for assessment 1 and assessment 2. Assessment 2 on a lot of these buildings, so we think the IDA has already done some. So that will make our money go a little bit further, and we're working on getting that list. Yes, we are. So the project structure, which was good news to us, we'll be able to get a contractor that will basically run this grant, because this is not our area of expertise at all. So there are 5, I think, on the list of state-approved contractors. So we'll do an RFP. I think it's kind of a limited RFP. We're not sure what that means. We're going to find out tomorrow. So we can contract with a consultant. They'll basically run the project for us, and then we'll work with all the folks in the consortium. There'll actually be community outreach so that the community citizens can say they've identified a building maybe in their neighborhood or community that they would like to see have some work done. The contractor will work with contractor on projects within their community. The contract or the grant at the end, too, will result in a reuse plan. So we can get these buildings assessed, and then they'll help us develop, well, what would you like to do with this building? So we won't just go through the process and then not have anything ready. So the next step in this could be probably even before the 3-year grant is up. Some of these buildings could qualify for the work to come in and have them rebuilt, repurposed, and go through another grant. Oh, then yes, right, say that.
Okay. So once these assessments are done, then the state funding can come into play. But until they're done, the state funding is out of our reach. So we'll work with ADEQ on a grant after this grant to take our buildings further, probably than they've been in years. Yeah.
So in the state grants are just a little bit easier to get than the federal. This is a federal grant, but the state, we have a really good relationship with ADEQ. If you remember, that's the grant we got to take down the Hayden Motel. So we'll be able to work with them. And Travis Barnum is actually supposed to be our consultant or lead on this project, helping us along the way. And they promise they won't let us make a mistake. Yeah. They won't allow it. So yes, we do.
Well, thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen, do you have questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. You were so clear on it, I just don't think I have a question.
Well, that's
Sup-
what's good.
Super-
That's what's good about coming down the agenda so far.
Supervisor Klein. Yeah, we're tired on the last one.
I don't have any questions on this other than just a comment. It's just a super good project, and it'll be really, really good for a lot of our buildings here in Gila County. So, and outside of Gila County, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
But anyway, good project. Thank you. Thanks you too.
Okay, my turn. Yeah, a lot of this includes owner cooperation, correct?
Yes, it does.
And when I was with the IDA, we did one with the service stations on US 60, and some of them still look as bad or worse than they did years ago because the owner did not want you on their property to tell them that they did have some type of environmental quality deficiencies.
Yes.
Because then they're afraid that the state or federal are going to come in and say, you need to fix this contamination now. So these are great grants, and my hat's off to you. I just hope that we have owner cooperation to be able to use this amount of money because, like you say, the first test leads to the second test, which leads to grant money to the owners to clean it up. It's the federal government trying to make things better, but still, the owner of the property, if he says, I don't want to know I got lead, I don't want to know I got asbestos, because then you're going to make me clean it up. Well, then the community gets better, the property value goes up, so why they wouldn't, I don't know. But my hat's off to you, and I hope this is money well spent, and I hope that we do have owners more interested than we did with the service stations.
I think that we will, just because some of these buildings are pretty sought after, but when you go to it and they try to get a loan on it and they go into escrow, then the banks look at it and say no. So I think hopefully with these buildings it'll be a little bit different than the gas stations.
Yeah.
As these are really high profile buildings that we've got on the list, that would be wonderful to get them back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I just hope that we do get the owner cooperation, and thank you, ladies, very much for reaching for those grants and being able to reach for the grants. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And if there's no further comments, I'll call for a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the 2021 U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Brownsfield Assessment Cooperative Agreement Grant Number 98T22801 as presented.
And Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Okay, now we are going on to, we're on
Q.
We're on Q, okay. Moving on to Q, wow, we got a bunch of letters out today. Information, discussion, action to approve the budgeted and unbudgeted interfund transfers to include COVID-19 related transfers. Marion Billings, I hope you can make sense of that.
Well, the good news is that we are just back today to tell you that we did what you gave us permission to do when we first brought this to you. So you don't have to muddle through the numbers. You don't have to muddle through the technicalities. They are here for the record, but you had authorized us to go ahead and prepare these journal entries and get them made, and we are following what the Auditor General's office told us we needed to do, so that at the end of fiscal year 2020, we have unearned revenue on our books of $1,249,000. That was what was left in the CARES Act funding after what we had already authorized and approved for salaries and employee-related expenses, because that's what the money was given to us to use it for. So we're just here today to give you guys the numbers, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. I have no questions.
Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What was that number again on the CARES Act?
So we received $2,960,000, and at the end of June 2020, right, because we had from March 7th to December 30 to spend it, but at the end of June, we had to be able to say what wasn't spent yet. there was $1,249,063.05 that we had not spent that we did spend from July to December. And by spend, all I mean is that we received this money from the state. In order to get the money, Mary and James and you all had applied for it, and it was to be used for general fund salaries and wages. And the Auditor General came back and told us that in order to have it work that way, we needed to reclassify the expenses from general fund to the CARES Act fund. So you will, after we get everything pulled together for fiscal 21, you will see that there is a cost savings to the general fund because of this.
Okay. Thank you, Marion.
Okay, I have no questions. I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the budgeted and unbudgeted interfund transfers to include COVID-19 related transfers as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. So now we're moving on to 4R. Information discussion action to consider a sealed bid for the purchase of Assayers Tax Parcel Number 207-04-081B, and if accepted, authorize the chairman's signature on the quick claim deed. Marion Shepherd.
Thank you, Chairman Humphrey and board members. I'm going to ask Missy to present this item, please.
Okay, Missy, go ahead. Thank you.
Chairman, members, we received a bid, or a sealed bid from Elisa and Michael Mischler. And this property is a hillside directly behind parcel number 207-04-081A and 207-04-080. And it is located on West Cypress Drive and Country Club Manor and Globe, and it has no ingress or egress. The total lien on this property is $1,383.40, and they plan to do no improvements on this property. It's a hillside behind their home, and they just want to be able just to go ahead and include it with their property at this time. So if you have no questions for me, I would like to open the sealed bid.
Please do.
Okay, the Mischler Family Trust is actually Michael and Lisa Mischler are bidding the amount of $1,000.
Okay. Any questions, Supervisor Christensen?
No. You said that the taxes owed are basically $1,300. Yes. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all.
I'm
Supervisor
good.
Klein.
Yeah, I'm good.
I just appreciate this homeless property getting a home, as always. Yeah, because no improvements is fine, but paying taxes on it and maintaining it is great. So, Marion and Missy, thank you very much. I like to see these come up and we get pieces of Gila County ownership. So I appreciate it very much. And with that, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to accept the sealed bid in the amount of $1,000 from Michael and Lisa Mischler for the purchase of Assessor's Tax Parcel Number 207-04-081B.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved unanimously. Moving on to 5, consent agenda action items. Any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed and voted upon as a regular agenda item upon the request of any member of the Board of Supervisors. Supervisor Christensen, is there anything you would care to discuss separately on the consent agenda items?
No, sir.
Supervisor Klein?
No, sir.
Okay, then I will call for a motion to accept consent agenda items.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5P.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Item was, consent agenda items were approved. Moving on to 6, call to the public. Do we have any public in Payson?
No, sir.
Do we have any public here in Globe? I see none. Do we have any public on YouTube?
Not today.
How many participants did we have today?
At the highest, we had
11. Well, that's good. I'm glad that 11 people joined us today. That's more than we have in the audience sometimes, and that's appreciative. Okay, then, if there's no call to the public, I will go to 7. At any time during the meeting pursuant to ARS 38-431.02K, members of the Board of Supervisors and the County Manager may present a brief summary of current events. No action may be taken on information presented. Mr. Minlove, would you care to go first? Because I seem to forget you if you don't.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. One item. I wanted to wish our Gila County Public Fiduciary Tiffany Porch a happy birthday today. And just to let you know that Ms. Porch, in dealing as the public fiduciary, has a challenging job. She and her staff do a great job in working with those that cannot care for themselves. And Ms. Porch, she approaches every single day with a big smile on her face, and she's always positive and happy about what she's doing and the things that she's doing for Gila County. So I appreciate Tiffany and all she does and those that she helps. She's wonderful. And that smile is awesome. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's it.
Mr. Minlove, and happy birthday, Tiffany. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. I don't have much. I was on KMOG yesterday morning, so and I asked whether or not I could be on there more often. So I'm going to be on KMOG myself on the third Monday of each month starting in October. And we will still continue to be on as a county on the first Monday in October. So double. That's all I have.
That's all you have. Okay. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on Tuesday, August 30th, me and Kathy went out and met with the homeowners in the El Capitan area and discussed basically the options and the process for applying for that DIFM money and how it's going to fall out right there. We had probably about 25 homeowners right there. A lot of questions, a lot of concerns, a lot of when can this happen, and so we answered as many questions as we could, obviously, and I'm sure there's more today. So it won't be long before I'll be back out there talking to them again as well. They brought up other concerns as far as just maintenance on roads in that area outside of the flooding and fires. So I believe, Kathy, you sent them the road agreements if they choose to do that. And so then on Wednesday, September 1st, Mr. Minlove and Sherry, me and Kathy, we went down and attended the Resolution Copper annual lunch at the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. Good to see a lot of people out. It was a good time, good visit. So, and next Tuesday, September 14th, we'll be meeting with the homeowners and ranchers to discuss options and processes in this flooding and fire part of it. The agencies should be there. Hopefully they'll all be there, including NRCS, DIFM, and us, of course, and others, and the NRCD district. So I look forward to that, and if there's any additional questions or whatever, hopefully we can get it all answered while we're all sitting around the same table. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I guess I'll start off that, some people, I guess, have way too much time on their hands. My email was hacked, and a lot of people that work for the county got a message that I needed help. So Amy and Tiffany, thank you for calling me and asked me what you could do for me, because I don't know how many people that got emailed saying that I needed help, but Oh, yeah. So anyway, I thank you all very much. Some of you for calling me to see what you could do for me, and the others for realizing that I was hacked and felt sorry for me. So I had to change passwords, but it's amazing just what people will spend time doing, and that was all the damage done, and so that was a pretty crazy deal. I'm on Kiko Radio every Thursday at 9:40. And I was on last week, and I got one call-in person. He thought it was the Trading Post, and he had turkeys for sale. So I've had a real good time here lately. It's like, holy smokes! I don't know where for sure all that's going, but tonight I'll hold a Tonto Basin meeting at 5, and I hope nobody's selling turkeys at my Tonto Basin meeting. And attended the grand opening at the animal shelter, and what a beautiful facility. And as I say, my hat's off with our economy boost over COVID with the materials and stuff to still come in under budget was amazing, and what that's going to help our community with. And I also love the fact that we fought to get it out by the fairgrounds for the IGA with the Department of Corrections, so that the Department of Corrections can work with the animals. I think that's great for the inmates as well as the animals. So if you haven't seen that facility, it's worth going out to see. It's a great asset to Gila County. And I donated some funds to the Old Dominion Days, and we'll attend the Old Dominion. Some of their facilities, some of their deals that are going on here locally. And so that's all I have. And so,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I give one more plug?
You may.
The Gila County is holding our annual fair on September 23rd through the 26th. Now, there's going to be some limitations. There won't be a carnival, but all the animal presentations for the kids that have been raising their animals will be presented, and the other things that the home jam and quilts and all those things will be presented. So we are holding an in-person fair. Steers will be auctioned and all that, and that will be live. But because of COVID, we will not have a carnival this year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else from the board? Okay, well, thank you all very much for a great meeting and all the work that you do. And so I will adjourn today's meeting. Have a good day.